My name is Lori Bent, and I am a recently retired member of the Weston Select Board. And I want to thank you very much for joining us for this Memorial Day celebration. And what a day we got. It is glorious. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to ask that everyone please stand, if you are willing and able, for the presenting of the colors by the Honor Guard, which is Weston's fire and police departments. After the colors have been presented, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Weston Boy Scout Troop 157. March forward. Colors, please march forward. The Boy Scouts will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Honor Guard. Thank you, Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts. We are going to be having some wonderful music selections performed this morning. All selections are being performed by the Weston High School Marching Band, directed by Christopher Memoli and Claire Nalvin, and led by drum major Solana Varela. Our first musical selection will be God Bless America by Irving Berlin. Please be seated. Thank you. Thank you. You filled the room, literally. We will now have our invocation by the Reverend Alicia Velez Stewart, pastor of the Weston United Methodist Church.
As a United Methodist pastor, I own that these words are coming from a distinct location of faith. And so I invite you to hear these words from the point of your need and the point of your lived experience today. So let us pause, let us take a big, deep breath, and let us turn our hearts toward the holy, known by many names and in many traditions as the God of justice, the Spirit of peace, and the divine presence among us. On this Memorial Day, we gather as a diverse and intergenerational community, military and civilian, religious and non-religious, all citizens shaped by memory, responsibility, and shared hope. We prepare our hearts, our minds, and our spirits to remember today those who gave their lives in service, those who wore the uniform and carried the burden of war, those who stood in harm's way out of duty, love, or calling. We remember the families whose grief is a daily companion, and the communities shaped by absence as well as by courage. Holy One, In a world still marred by conflict and division, bless us with the strength to be people of peace. Where there is violence, may we become healers. Where there is despair, may we be agents of hope. Where there is silence about injustice, may we speak with love and clarity. Draw near to all who carry visible and invisible wounds. Be especially close to veterans, caregivers, and all who mourn. May we learn as a community and a people not only how to honor the fallen, but how to build a world where peace is not the exception, but the promise. We pray this in the name of the one who calls us to justice, in the name of the Spirit who breathes throughout all of creation, and in the name of hope that rises in every human heart. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Alicia. And I have to say thank you for all that you have done for Weston. You've shared your warm heart, your quest for social justice, and your beautiful voice with us for the last 4 years. Reverend Alicia came to the Weston United Methodist Church in 2021 and will become the pastor of Brunswick United Methodist Church in Brunswick, Maine this coming July 1st. In your short time in Weston, you've had an impact in many ways, including guiding us in prayer for at least 3 Memorial Day celebrations. We will miss you. Representative Alice Peisch wanted to be with us for this ceremony, but she will not be joining us at the podium. She's with her family and her brand new grandchild, born just this week. She sends her regrets, though I understand she is still hoping to join us for the parade. We are here to remember and honor those in our armed forces who died while serving in the U.S. military. Together, we acknowledge this sacrifice and the loss endured by their families and loved ones. We all lost the contributions they might have made to the world, and I'm sure everyone in this room can name a lost family member or friend. And yet what they gave us in protecting our democracy is priceless. I'm going to talk very briefly about the history of Memorial Day in Weston. Memorial Day was born out of Civil War observances to honor the dead of that conflict. And for the information I'm sharing with you today, I'm indebted to Weston's own Pam Fox and her book, Farm Town to Suburb. And if you don't have a copy, you should get one. I also benefited from Donald G. Kennedy's carefully researched article in the Weston Historical Society Bulletin published in May 1983. And all of this stuff is available online. In August 1865, 3 years before the national recognition of what was then called Decoration Day, the citizens of Weston gathered to honor their dead and celebrate their returning heroes. It was called Decoration Day, by the way, because people decorated the graves of Civil War soldiers. Weston's memorial services and reception of returned services, that was the headline, was how newspapers described the event. After memorial services at First Parish Church, soldiers and citizens marched across the street to the 1847 Town Hall, right over there. It was Weston's first town hall, located right by the current watering trough landmark, and on the site of the 1722 First Parish Meeting House. There was a brass band, not as big as the band that we have enjoyed today, but it was both a celebration of returning soldiers and a memorial to those lost. At that event, the Reverend Mr. Bowen, formerly chaplain in the 35th Regiment in the Union Army, recommended that the town erect a monument on which should be inscribed the names of the fallen. The town meeting of the following November agreed, in principle, to erect a monument. But then, town meeting in April 1866 changed its mind and voted instead to expand the town hall with a memorial hall. And an engraved marble Civil War memorial was commissioned for that new hall and is now located downstairs at the new entry to Town Hall. It's toward the back of the entry on the left by the exit, the rear exit, the stairs going down. So I encourage you all to take a look. And I looked at it again this morning, and no one was over 21 years old in that list. I mean, it's really heartbreaking. So I have two editorial comments about the 1865 and 1866 actions of the town. One, town meeting can be fickle. That was true then, and it's still true now. That's one. Number two, Weston residents felt the need to honor and remember the Civil War dead, if not with a large monument, as so many New England towns did, then more practically, with a new room for town gatherings and space for library books. Jumping ahead to the next big war, World War I. On Memorial Day 1921, the town dedicated a flagpole just east of the new 1917 Town Hall, this building, along with the boulder at its base bearing a bronze tablet inscribed with the names of those who lost their lives in what they called the Great War. And that flagpole will be there later. That's right outside. Then we had another war, a world war. And in 1949, the town installed a bronze plaque on the same memorial boulder outside Town Hall, bearing the names of those lost in World War II. The design was similar to the World War I plaque already in place. You saw those plaques if you were here earlier, and you will see them after this ceremony when we go outside for the flag ceremony. The town also voted to place 2 bronze honor roll plaques in the Town Hall auditorium here in this room opposite the World War I plaques. Those are the World War I plaques. Those are the World War II plaques. And I encourage you again, take a look at them. We gather in this space all the time, but we should take a look at these memorial plaques. My final historical Memorial Day tidbit is that in 1953, the Weston War Memorial Educational Fund, a scholarship fund for post-secondary education, was established as a memorial to citizens of Weston who served in the armed forces in all wars. So Weston tends to not build the big memorials, the big monuments, but instead to encourage education. Remember that that new Memorial Hall was also to provide library space. Memorial Day is an opportunity for us to remember that the constitutionally protected freedom and democracy that we treasure in America were preserved for us by those who put themselves on the line, risking their lives so that our country could flourish. Thank you. We will now have a musical selection, My Country 'Tis of Thee, by the High School Marching Band. Thank you, band. Now it is my honor to introduce today's guest speaker, Lieutenant Colonel Max Reel. He is the Deputy Commander of Kessel Run, leading operations for more than 60 software teams delivering war-winning capabilities. Kessel Run is revolutionizing Air Force software acquisition and delivery, creating daily innovations and upgrades to the Department of Defense. Lieutenant Colonel Reel has held key roles in space, cyber, and software innovation, including work at the Pentagon. He was a founder and chief delivery for the Business and Enterprise System Product Innovation, BSPIN, organization and software lab, a U.S. Air Force Academy graduate and veteran of Operations Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom. He lives in Weston with his family. Lieutenant Colonel Max Reel.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me here. Especially thank you to all the organizers for this event. I'm very impressed with the turnout. And I know that it's all volunteer work that goes into bringing this forward, and that's not easy work to accomplish. And so I very much thank you for putting this all together. And especially for everybody in the crowd, it's important to recognize that Memorial Day is generally a day of solemn remembrance and gratitude for those that have come before us in the military, especially those and their families who have had great sacrifice due to their military service, some even losing members of their family. But in that recognition, there was a time within U.S. history that was discussed earlier during the intro where it was almost 1 out of every 10 members of U.S. society that you would come into encounter had spent time in the military. At that time, 9% in what was considered the greatest generation in World War II and just post-World War II. In today's military, it makes up 0.4% of U.S. populace that serves in the military. If you think about that, that's less than 1 out of every 200 people that you encounter in your daily lives. And the reason I bring this up is to thank you for being here, for your recognition of the importance of military service and those that have come before us in military service that have fought incredibly hard and paid quite a bit of sacrifice for us to enjoy the rights and the freedoms that we have as Americans. I can understand that given that knowing just maybe 1 out of every 200 people you encounter in your daily life is somebody that serves in the military, you may not have a direct link to the military any longer. We live in a time when perhaps parents or siblings or grandparents are no longer part of the group that has served actively. That being said, you're all here. And you're all here to pay respect to the tradition of what it is to honor those on Memorial Day. I had the unfortunate privilege last week of being at a memorial service at Arlington National Cemetery. If you haven't been to Arlington National Cemetery, I strongly recommend it on any trip down to Washington, D.C. This service happened to be for a close friend and mentor of mine that we lost last year. And there's nothing that brings the gravity home than being at a service in Arlington National Cemetery to recognize the importance of military service. This man, by the name Mark Baird, he was an incredible leader. He retired in the rank of general from the Air Force. And he had one saying that always stuck with me. And that saying was that he doesn't have coworkers. Despite the fact that he was in charge of hundreds of people throughout our organization, he found a way to be entirely compassionate to every single person as an individual and recognize every person as an individual, despite his organizational EQ for managing that large crowd. And so he would say, I don't have coworkers, I just happen to have a lot of friends for which I get to serve with. And I found that to be something that I heard early in my career, and now 15 years later still resonates with me daily when I think about what it means to be a part of the military family and to recognize everybody as individuals that are around you, despite the fact that we have forces of hundreds of thousands strong that are serving. When we think and honor Memorial Day, we think generally of grizzled military members that are fighting in hard and grueling environments, sometimes weeks and months on end out in the battlefield. And frequently that, hopefully for many of you, although I understand some in the audience, this may not be the case, but hopefully for many of you that is only a reference to what you have seen in movies. And for those of you that have seen that in real life, I'm sad for you that that's a part of your lived experience, and I thank you for it. That being said, what we look for in today's military and what we look for going forward is really trying to maintain a technical advantage that is so strong and is so foundationally backed by our education and the advanced ingenuity that comes out of that education, that we are able to win conflict in the gravest way possible by deterring the enemy, because they know so well what our technical advantage is that they're fearful to engage in actual combat with us. The best way that we can resolve any conflict is by doing so without the loss of human lives on either side. And it's with great privilege that I get to talk to a crowd today where we have representation of veterans and who understand kinetic combat, but we also have such a youthful audience here today. And so when we talk about the technical advantage, I'm talking about the people in the audience who are digital natives, who are growing up knowing exactly what it takes to operate high-tech computer systems, to operate in advanced robotics and autonomy, and to inspect thoroughly the other sciences that you might be passionate about. It's that passion for ingenuity and learning that's going to take us into the next generation of warfare, where the technical advantage is far more important than the mass of human lives on the ground. That's the way that we can be successful out into the future. I have with me here today my 3 daughters who go to schools in Weston. They're all elementary age. You'll get a chance to see them a bit later. And you may know them already. They've had the privilege of being in a military family for their entire known lives. But when I say privilege, I say it's been a privileged military experience for them. Their mom is in the military as well. You guys may have seen her around town. She is unafraid to wear her uniform after work anywhere that she goes around town. And the girls are very proud of that. As well, all the people that love them in their lives, their entire family support system, all the adults who are part of their support system understand their lives as military children. And therefore, they're really blessed. They're blessed to be surrounded by such community that takes care of them. They're blessed to be around a lot of family that takes great care of them, despite both of their parents being in active military and having to depart often as a result of that. In fact, we're so fortunate that 7 out of my last 9 years in military service got to be right here. So most military families move around quite a bit. But our girls got to homestead in this area for the last 7 of 9 years, with the exception of 2 short years in Alabama, for which you might hear some of them have a little bit of a southern twang come out in a couple of things they say from their preschool and early schooling years in Alabama. So with that, I want to ask in closing that on this Memorial Day, we keep in mind the families that are potentially less fortunate in their military service. Those military families who we can reflect on and who may have lost mothers, fathers, husbands, wives, siblings, sons, and daughters to conflict. And let us stay energized to continue to support those families while we look forward and we energize our next generations at the technological advance that we need them to have, so that those digital natives can lead us into the next generation of warfare that is more deterrent than kinetic. I hope that that resonates with all of you, and I thank you for letting me speak with you here today.
Now the Weston High School Marching Band will perform are we done with musical selections? We are done with music. Sorry, I just gave the whole marching band heart attack. Sorry about that. I do want to thank the planning committee for this event. whose members are Stephen Arenizio, representing the Town Manager's Office, Del Leistritz Edwards, Ashley Rohal, and Shirley Small-Rougeau. And I'd also like to thank all of the participants in today's ceremony, and especially Lieutenant Colonel Reel. Thank you so much for your thoughtful remarks. Thank you. These are lovely. The Reverend Alicia Velez Stewart will give us the benediction, and I'm going to ask that you please remain in the auditorium after the benediction for a special celebration.
As a daughter, granddaughter, niece of many, many generations of Marines, merchant Marines, and Navy sailors, I thank all of you for your sacrifice, your service, and also for the families who serve alongside you. And we thank you for this time to remember those who have gone before. So let us once again pause to settle our hearts. Let's take a big, deep breath and take note of where we are in this place and in this space as we remember. And as we allow ourselves to take in all we have heard, may I offer you a blessing and a call to action today. Dear ones, as we depart from this place of remembrance, may we carry with us not only the names of those we honor, but the weight of their sacrifice and the call that it places on our lives. Let us go forth with hearts awakened to the sacred work of peace, to the ongoing labor of justice, to the daily practice of compassion. May we never forget that true peace, God's shalom, is not merely the absence of conflict, but the presence of wholeness, of equity, of joy. That it is the flourishing of all creation, every neighbor, every nation, every child. May the memories that we lift today and that we carry with us not be cloaked in sentiment alone, but may they rise as a charge to shape a future where war is no longer needed to prove courage, and love is the most enduring form of strength. So go now, with gratitude in your steps, with hope in your spirit, with courage to live lives worthy of the peace that we seek. And may the peace of the holy, that deep, abiding, justice-making, world-healing peace, be with you and move through you today and always. Amen.
As I promised, we have a special celebration. Lieutenant Colonel Max Reel's daughters are now joining him on the stage.
Here, come across. Let's come up here. All three can stand each other. Come up.
Attention to orders. Special order number AC 016962. On this day, May 26, 2025, Lieutenant Maximilian H. Real is serving for active duty at the Air Force District, Washington, the Pentagon, Washington, D.C. By order of Secretary of the Air Force, per Regulation 363203, having served faithfully and honorably for 20 years of active service. Maximilian H. Real is retired in the grade of Lieutenant Colonel effective June 1st, 2025.
Thank you so much, girls. That was amazing. Now we will have the wreath laying at the Weston Moore Memorial outside Town Hall, and then there will be a parade to the ceremony sites. Please join us outside at the flag. Thank you all so much for coming. Happy Memorial Day.